Buon pomeriggio a tutti.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being here. We have a good turnout today, and this will be a very interesting talk. What will come out today and what we will learn, the comments and the judgments that we will try to share, don't reflect my own personal job. And I, as a moderator of this talk, I would like to give a bit of context. Yesterday, at the encounter at 7 p.m. with Zamagni, we gave a bit of context. We will speak about managers, men and women in history. This role is changing very much for a series of mechanisms in a society on a global level, and we have the ecological challenge, which is evident to everybody. The Amazonian forests are burning. This is an important challenge. We also have important challenges to democracy and employment, people in society. 20% of 200 US businesses have published a document in which they have said that companies are part of the global stock exchange, and they cannot depend on short-term profits. So our industry must deal with all of these challenges: environment, these employment issues, and finance. There are many criterions involved, and a manager must try to manage in a very acute and intelligent way, and also in an organic and global sense. And this is a subject which is very current, and it's becoming more and more important. It is affecting the role of companies in society. We're very lucky to have two great speakers today. Clara Gaymard, who is very important on the French scene and on the global scene. She is co-founder of Raise, founded in 2013, and is a fundraising association of great importance, and has a lot of tried to make a lot of efforts to help the ecological challenges of today. So we will try to we will also try to talk about the equality in an ecological sense and also in a sociological sense. And is a member of the board of many businesses and directors. So, actually, before becoming a top manager, Clara also had a very important career as a civil servant, as a high manager of the French administration. She was ambassador for France in Egypt. So her career is very varied, has been very varied. And she has spoken and had a dialogue with people in the high echelons of society. The initiation of this investment fund is very interesting. Paolo Scaroni developed his career in various continents, in various sectors, from glass to Enel to Eni. And so he started in Enel, then he went to Eni, which are the two pillars of the distribution of electric energy, one of the top 8 in the world. And he is also president and delegated administrator of AC Milan. And he's also vice president of Rothschild. They have different profiles. So he has worked in many different sectors, various places. And also he has been obviously working in the sports industry. And he has promoted Italian business all over the world. I would begin by saying, towards the end of our conference, I would like to, based on what comes out today, I would like to offer anyone the opportunity to ask a question. If you desire to come up here, we can help with microphones. You can ask the staff. We'll pass the microphone, and we will maybe have space for about 4 questions and give the speakers a chance to answer. So first of all, I would like to invite you to welcome them with a big round of applause. It is really a great pleasure. So, Paolo, I would like to ask you, how would you describe, in essence, the journey that brought you to these prestigious responsibilities? I would like a couple of points that were important for you to give a turning point and it helped your career. Can you hear me? I don't want to tell you about the story of my life, which is long and boring, but I would like to extract from the story of my life what the ingredients for a recipe of success in management are. So I will speak about management, great companies, and how one can go through all the rungs of a ladder to get to the top. I would like to get a bit of order and distinguish between a personal journey and a professional journey. We must be excellent. We must be able to speak languages, get a good education. We must have rich CVs, have good work experiences. I always tell young people, first of all, earn your life. Do whatever you want, but you have to become autonomous in a financial sense. And so earn your living. Careers are made up of choices, and when you go to a company, the top people are the people who were first in their class. So you have to be good students, work hard, have many experiences, Every period in your life is essential for building your CV, so that when a potential employer gets it, says, this is somebody interesting. This person was able to work while they were studying. This person was a tennis champion, or he has something, this CV has something that shows me that this person searches for excellence. So first of all, when somebody goes into the world of work, this company has to be a good company, a good school company, a company that helps educate you. I assure you that the General Electric company helps you to, trains you. So the first point of education is within the company itself. And then we have the human aspect. If you want to become a manager, this is different. If you want to be professional, you are the person who are responsible for doing your job. When you're a manager, you get other people to do what you're responsible for. So other people are in charge, carry out the job. So the management of the meeting of Rimini requires hundreds, thousands of people who are happy to do the work and understand why they are doing it, and they understand the importance of the meeting. And this ability to motivate, manage people, and reward them, and also to punish them when necessary. If you do not know how to do this, you're not a good manager. So how do you learn this? First of all, I think you must have an attitude of interest towards others, towards people. You have to be able to look at someone in the eyes and try to understand what motivates them, what's important for them. If you have this ability, well, this is a big step forward. And obviously then practice is, the more you do it, the more you learn. What is essential, however, is this capacity to relate to others. You have to be able to understand if somebody is motivated. If someone is able to build an organization made of motivated people who are energetic, your success is guaranteed. If it's the opposite, then your failure is guaranteed. Thank you very much. I would like to ask you a question by giving you a bit of context first of my question. One of the daughters of one of the most important dentists, Jérôme Lejeune, who also discovered the cause of Down syndrome. And I also have a daughter who is affected by this, by Down syndrome. And Clara is also the mother of 9 children. So and me and my wife only have 6. We're full of admiration. The importance of a manager to be interested in people and understand what motivates them. I would like to go deeper into this theme. I would like to ask Clara, could you tell us, how did you get, starting from public administration, which is a very different sector, different world, how did you get to get these responsibilities that are so important? what were the steps and what were the considerations that, in hindsight, were fundamental for you to get where you are today? Thank you. Thank you very much, Samuel. I am very sorry that I don't speak Italian. This is a pity and an error on my behalf. I hope that the next time I will be invited to speak a bit more in Italian and understand perfectly what Paolo says. So Paolo also speaks French. And I am sorry I cannot speak your beautiful language that I love. To respond to your question, it's difficult and easy at the same time to respond to this question. Well, first of all, I find it quite interesting. I think it is a very interesting and fun question to answer. How did I manage to have 9 children and work at the same time? I don't know if you asked yourself this question. How do you have 6 kids and also have the time to work? After all, when you see a man who is in the same situation, try and ask him and see what he will answer. Maybe this is a bit of a provocative way to answer, but I think your question is a very good question. Why? Because I truly believe that so family life and work life are not in opposition. We are not anybody else. When we go to work, we're the same person that we are at home. And if we are, there's something that's not a good sign. So our identity has to be the same in both environments. I am convinced that the people in this hall are those who are parents and their children who want to one day maybe become parents. When you have a 5-year-old boy, you must help him to cross the road for the first time, to buy bread for the first time, if it's his first time. And if something happens, if he doesn't look left and right, you're there with him. But you slowly help your collaborators. When you're not there, you help them to become more autonomous. And this is fundamental when you want to become a good manager. When in January you start thinking about your children's holidays and you only have 3 weeks and they have 3 months of holidays, and you're thinking about how to manage, and you ask yourself, well, where should I send my children on holidays? And you learn to anticipate these problems. And this is one of the most fundamental qualities, the ability to anticipate problems as a manager. And also organizing things for other people, not only for yourself, but for others, so that others can be happy and be happy in their job. When the first time you ask your children to set the table, or you get them to cook for the first time, you know that their first attempt will not be completely successful, but you give them the possibility to learn something that initially they won't be able to do very well, but with time they will improve. And as a manager, it's very difficult to give space to mistakes and errors, because your services have to be perfect for your clients. But for all of these collaborators, they won't get it right the first time, and it's a very long process. And I could maybe conclude with something that I find is very important. Our life on a daily basis, or pain or mournings. All of us go through difficult things, separations, or misunderstandings within families. These are all moments that are charged with high emotions, and you're not thinking about your own emotions, but you're trying to understand how to communicate with the people that are closest to you. For example, the death of a grandfather or a parent in a family. How do you accompany your family members? And by doing this, you learn how to go through and face crises in your business as well. And some of these are trials that have on a more existential level, but they can help. So to know how to face a crisis and how together we can help each other to get out of a crisis. It's not you, it's your vision, it's your direction, the direction that you give that helps to emerge from the crisis. I think that fundamentally to be a parent is an extraordinary tool, to be a resource for becoming a great manager, and helps you to understand a lot of things. We also need to understand another thing that I think is fundamental. That's, of course, we are the first generation who must learn from our own children, but they are the ones that teach us about today's world. First of all, because they understand the digital world much more than we do, but also because they have much more a heightened awareness of the future of the planet, and also of the capacity for listening to others, which is much more heightened compared to our ability of listening, our capacity for listening.
Thank you very much. Because if you ask me what's like to be a father of 6 children, well, I can definitely repeat what you've just said. I've learned it from you, but I share your opinion. Actually, I will ask you questions later. Now, Paolo was saying that a manager should have a certain empathy, be empathetic with his workers in order to engage with them. Clara told us that you need to let someone emerge. So what a person learns throughout his life is fundamental, because this helps the person in his job too. I'd like to repeat what we said yesterday. No matter what people say, a business doesn't only deal with profit, it also has a social responsibility which is increasing. First of all, because as Clara was saying, businesses are becoming more and more aware, especially aware of the fact that we all share a common home. Secondly, there are huge challenges: inequality, environmental issues, relationships between local areas and businesses. So there are these new challenges that we find that we need to face. I'd like to ask Paolo, should a business think just of profit, or should it take care of this common home? Well, this question is quite difficult to answer as an Italian, because I'm old enough to remember when in Italy any losses were paid back by taxpayers. So when we say a business shouldn't think just of profits, it should do many more things. Well, I feel kind of scared because I remember the time when people used to repeat and to defend this point of view. I'd like to quote an Englishman called Aidan Canterbury, who died a few years ago at 90 years old, who in 1980 wrote the first book about corporate governance. Well, dealing with this issue, he said that a business is given permission by a community to carry out its job, to create traffic, use lands, do many things that may be a nuisance for citizens in order to make profits. A business has this permission as long as it brings benefits for the whole community. Benefits that overweigh, are more evident and more important than the drawbacks. So as long as you hire people, you pay them, you respect the environment, then you have this permission. Just think of a company with about 40, 50 plants all around the world. This company needs to bring about benefits for everybody, more benefits than drawbacks. So I believe that a company, yes, should make profits, but it should make profits as long as it takes care of the community that gives it this particular permission we've just talked about. So the shareholders' interest is to preserve this license. A shareholder always has to make sure that its presence is liked by everybody else. Those companies that do not respect the environment and the surrounding community have to face tragic problems and issues and are not able to survive. So I believe that what you've just mentioned are not two contradictions, but they are strictly linked. Yes, so I'd like to ask Clara now. Clara, you are the founder of an investment fund, Raise, worth about 1 billion euros. Its goal is to support startups and other companies that have a positive social and environmental impact. So, if a company starts having social goals, it means that it's doing quite well, but so how did you manage to find the solution? Second question. Sometimes we believe that managers should just give orders. He should be like a big monkey, big scary monkey, so that everybody follows his orders without asking questions. But an investment fund like yours should be able to have a dialogue with people, with their talents. So besides environment, there's also another issue, people. How did you manage to do all this? Well, I don't know whether I'll contradict what's just been said, but I'm not sure the only goal of a company is profit. The goal is to achieve concrete results. So if my company is doing poorly, then I cannot carry on. I need to make profit as a company. But the goal is to produce, for example, sofas. If I'm a sofa company, for example, to make high quality sofas, or anyways to provide a high quality service. I believe that a manager or a founder of a company does have a project, wishes to offer a service, to produce something in particular. If he does it well, then this will bring about profits, but a vision needs to be followed and pursued. Such manager needs creativity and also needs to be able to carry out his project and make it real. He also needs people that produce such products, that provide the services. So the first key factor is the team, because there's no such thing as a company without a team. Men and women are at the heart of a company because they make it work. So a manager who runs a company needs to be able to manage this dynamic too, in order to pursue his or her own vision. At the heart, there are men and women, so we need to motivate them every morning. This means that managers need to engage with these people, not only from a professional point of view, giving them orders, but also getting to know them, their dreams, their ambitions, and personal issues need to be faced too. Another important point, their vision of the company, because no matter their position in the hierarchy, these men and women do have a vision which may differ from the manager's one, but that may support it too, or give new ideas. I live near the mountains, and people who live near the mountains know that when you look at a mountain, you don't always recognize it because you may see just one part of it. So when you're a manager, sometimes you see just one part of the mountain. So if you don't listen to all of your co-workers to look at the whole mountain, then you may miss out on something. There may be misunderstandings, and so this involves the environment as well, because there are lakes and meadows as well. So a company is made up of several minds. Sometimes we forget maybe because of new processes or complicated, complex hierarchic structures, we believe that men are just soldiers, and we've forgotten about this aspect. But when we founded Race, we thought that the finance world was regarded the less generous field in the world. But from the very beginning, we repeated that 50% of our profit should have been donated to a foundation to support entrepreneurs. Not 5, not 10%, 50%. People told us we were crazy, that this couldn't happen, that it was impossible. At the beginning there was 2 of us, now there's 40 of us. We invest about 2 million euros in private equity. The housing sector, in venture capital. Last year we made more than 2 billion euros for this company that supports startups. So this generosity, giving 50% of our profits, is based on the idea that we're giving this to someone who will give something back to us. Because the founders of these startups otherwise would not be able to set up these small companies. These people have a certain vision, a fresh vision that we don't have. When in the morning you go to work, you say, well, we made it, and at the same time you enable a startup to become a successful company that you feel twice as proud, because we see that our talent was useful to other talents too. A few examples of talents we've supported. The first one, Nature et Découverte, a company that sells different kinds of products. And 20 years ago, the managers, especially Antoine Marchon, founded an environmental society using 50% of the profit. Now this international company was bought by Fnac, and we've supported them over the last few years. Another company, very small, a startup founded by a woman living in a small village in Britannia. She realized that she saw many low-quality products for women, so she decided to launch pads, biodegradable cotton for women, and she decided to give part of her products for free to associations taking care of women in need. Some told her, this is just crazy, you need to make profits first in order to give something for free. But something happened, because the clients, the women who decide to buy products that do not harm their health, they also find out that by buying these products, some women in need will be able to have access to such products, and women usually buy more of these products. So this became a force for this company. This became the engine of this company. So for such company, the goal is not to make as much profit as possible, is to have a positive impact on society. The important thing is to understand how to meet the needs of society and how to help others. I'm happy we have managers with us in this room, and I hope they have the same motivation. But sometimes we forget that generosity plays a key role in economics too. I'd like to speak directly to all the volunteers here at the meeting. You're here for free. You create a specific economic dynamic, not only because restaurants and hotels here work more because of you, but also because people thrive here. So I believe that many companies were set up because people here met and decided to work together. This event is possible thanks to 3,000 volunteers, and this is something economic. This is an economic factor. So when we work, we need to remember that generosity doesn't only show that you're a good Christian or a good citizen, but it is a real economic engine, because it enables others to set up new companies, new startups, and this brings about benefits for all of us. So this is why we decided to set up Raise, and we're very happy with our fast growth and with our success, and we are incredibly proud of it because it was a crazy bet, but we were successful. And thanks to all the people we involved in this crazy idea, we were even more successful. And we did this not just thinking of maximizing our profits. A very provocative question to both of you, and then you can ask your questions. I'd like to hear your questions because what they said is really provocative. Because they said that if you don't understand the value of the other person, or if you are not generous, then the economy doesn't work. Well, this is very interesting. This is food for thought for all of us. But let's go back to my provocative question. We mentioned the global context. You said to young people, go and work in big companies, go and be trained there, because in this way you can repeat what you see there and maybe set up your own small company. So you regard the global context as a school of life. So what can an Italian man bring to the table in this global context? And a different question to Clara, for no particular reason, a different question. What can a European citizen bring to the table? What can a European citizen do to promote this way of making business?
Well, first of all, in Italy, these are very delicate subjects. So I don't want to be superficial here. Italian companies show every day to be a very efficient presence in the global market. Our companies export. I am from Veneto, and I can assure you that all people from Veneto, Emilia, today we are very happy. And they are doing well, but only because they are exporting. So our commercial balance is positive. So we are exporting more than we are importing. So I would have to say Italian companies have earned their place in the global market. The global market is constantly a threat because you introduce something and then the next day another company in Vietnam comes and has the same idea. So we must always be very attentive, innovative, competitive. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is certain. But if there is something that is going very well in Italy it is exports. We shouldn't be worried about this, at least for this aspect of the Italian economy. And the rest, we have the south of Italy is not growing, and there are no industries. And this is something that we are all suffering from since the building of our republic, since the war. And we don't see improvements. But Italian companies have nothing to worry from the point of view of competition on the global market. Thank you very much. Clara, well, this is a question that would need at least another hour or another conference to answer properly. To answer, I would have to say a lot of things about the role of Europe but first of all, I would have to say, talk about culture, European culture, and the culture represented by the diversity of Europe is something that has a unity, but also a diversity. And we can see the same in Italy. There is a difference. Each region has its own cuisine and has its different culture. And this is fundamental. I would like to tell an anecdote to understand. I worked for a couple of years, 10 years, in an American company. This company, General Electric, was flourishing a lot. And what struck me was that the American managers, didn't have culture. They had a culture in economics, in organization, logistics. When, for example, we used to go to China, and the Chinese would answer yes, they understood that it was yes, but they didn't understand that sometimes they meant no. The Africans would observe and would say, yeah, we'll do this tomorrow. The Americans were really convinced that they were speaking the truth. But we know that in African culture, yes, tomorrow might be the day after tomorrow or further along down the timeline. So the strength of European civilization is its history, is its culture. And for people who are young, be proud of your culture, of your roots, of your heritage. We are not the only countries on the planet. Be curious also of other cultures. The more you are rooted in your own culture, the more you are open to other cultures, and you are curious about knowing other cultures and about other people and their languages. You have the chance. You are very lucky to be born in a continent which has very deep and profound cultural roots. Italians are leaders on a global scale, and Italians are everywhere in the world. So there is a piece of Italy everywhere, and thanks to this, you can learn and know about other cultures. And getting to know, knowing other people helps you to understand what is important to him or what his way of communication is. And these are real assets and that can be useful for us Europeans. Between us, Italian and French, we need to listen to each other, to respect each other, to be aware that we are different. And it is this difference that is our strength. This difference is our strength. So what you're saying reminds me of an image of St. Francis. A community is not a sphere where all the differences are, but it is a polyhedron where everybody is in relationship with the other. This is a huge value. And to know your own culture is the best way to learn about other cultures and enter in a dialogue with others. So now I would gladly give the floor to you. Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll have 4 for now. So what's your name? Lorenzo from Milan. I had 2 questions. The first has to do with how one faces difficulties that one may encounter during one's career. Sometimes companies ask us to be at the top of our game, and how much did your team help you, and how did your company help you to get out of a difficult situation if you've ever found yourself in this particular circumstance? And I would like to ask Clara an idea of innovation. I would like to ask her about the capacity for innovation in her career. Hello. Thank you. My name is Zamani. I look after research in the sector of finance. Oscar Wilde once said, "It is not what you don't know to put you in trouble, but what you think you know is what puts you into trouble." How do you live this statement in your professional life? So everything that you think you know is what puts you in trouble. With my reading this sentence with my colleagues often makes me get goosebumps, because in the world of finance has often taken very many unexpected turns. I am from Como. My name is Davide Belluschi. I would like to ask the president, from a managerial point of view, what was missing on a management point of view in Milan, in AC Milan, in the last couple of years, and what are the priorities from which you would start, from which you would begin again to get AC Milan go back to its golden years? This is a very serious question. So, Clara, what helped you get out of difficulties in your life? Well, I would like Paolo to begin by answering on the AC Milan team. I am French, but I also support AC Milan. We all have difficulties in our professional life, and we all have had moments in which we seem to have made the biggest mistakes of our lives, and sometimes we are ashamed almost about the way we've behaved, and we'd want to bury ourselves. But what saves you in your life is humor, to be able to laugh about your mistakes. And it is not the end of the world if you have behaved if you haven't behaved in the most appropriate way, and you must try and go beyond what you've done, and by telling yourself that these are ways of learning, they're ways to learn lessons. We must learn about from these experiences. What could I have done differently? Just because you're the manager doesn't mean that you're infallible. So there are moments when a manager may make mistakes, but you must have the patience and the humility to admit it and then move on. I think this sentence by Oscar Wilde is very current, because today our institutions are built on the foundations of the post-war period, and we are often they're often based on methods that are that preceded the technological revolution and the digital world. The ease with which we can communicate and exchange information is a crucial point. I wrote a book on this. We must learn that organization, democracy, are based on the system vote, which is almost centuries old. We can buy plane tickets and we can give feedback almost on the spot. We must unlearn and find discover this innocence. This would be the best way to learn new ways of making companies. If you look at the companies that have had success in the last years, for example, Airbnb, whose founder never managed hotel chains or anything in the accommodation sector, but it was founded by people who had no experience, and the founder of Uber had never driven a taxi. So we must have the innocence of having have a different approach if we want to have a different kind of success, good success. On the topic of learning, we must accept to learn again and be receptive to change. My friend, who we often laugh when we say to ourselves, yes, I'll always do this, and then we laugh about this because many times reality doesn't go how you expected it to, and it completely changes your plans. And so I'd like you to answer on Zamagni's question. The enemy is what you think you know.
Look, I don't know anything. As a manager, I know nothing. I always ask my co-workers what they think, because usually a manager doesn't know more than others. He knows who knows. So a manager needs to know who to go up to and ask questions. We're going to talk about AC Milan later. I knew I wouldn't be able to avoid this, and we have Fabio Guadagnini from AC Milan here. But I told them, look, I don't know the first thing about football. Please tell me about it. This is just an example, but this is how I act in the oil sector, energy sector, and so on. Because a good manager takes the best out of people and uses people's talents and knowledge. So a good manager doesn't show off. He uses what people know. He knows who to ask questions to. And it's unfortunately just a question of money. You may wonder why isn't AC Milan doing good? Well, Milan has €2 million, Real Madrid 700 million. So this is just a very simple example. Real Madrid can buy more players. So if I make 2 million euros, how can I make 1 billion to buy more players and pay them more? Well, in this case, there are two huge obstacles that need to be overcome. For example, the first one, sports results, because if you lose all the matches, then you won't make any profits. Secondly, you also need economic support, because one needs to find all the fans, the fan base, and make sure the fan base buys the society's products to increase the turnover and so on. Just a remark. From this point of view, Milan is more of a global team than Juventus, because Milan won many Champions Leagues, 7 Champions Leagues, more than Juventus. So this is why you need to be able to engage with your fan base, because the society needs to engage with its fans everywhere in the world, in Indonesia, in Thailand, Brazil. But if this team doesn't win anything anymore, then the fan base won't be interested in its products. So this is why the team needs to win too. I was president of a small team, Vicenza Calcio, a few years ago, but still I'm just a beginner in football. But I do see sports experts that read sport magazines every day don't know who a fair player is, for example. There's no such thing of people investing huge amounts of money in a football team anymore. You need to make profit, make money. So this is what our future looks like and what our needs are. I'd like to sum up a couple of points that have just been made. We asked Paolo what it means to be a manager, and he said, first of all, you need to be able to make questions emerge, to support questions. And we asked Clara, how can we deal with this new world? And she said, we need to find a new innocence. So I'd like to go back to this, because at the very beginning we were wondering what's the role of man within the economic field, which is daunting sometimes. Paolo said one needs to be able to ask questions. In order to do this, one needs to have something that stimulates him. That may be environmental issues, social issues, many other things. But it's always men that ask questions. And men ask questions when something moves them. So we need such men and women. And then Clara showed us that we need to trust this new world, to appreciate it. And we also need to learn from young people. Also, we shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes. This is just another way of learning. We're always looking for something. So this is why we need to be able to ask questions. But reality makes us grow constantly. And if you do not ask questions, if you're not able to start over again every time, then you get lost. Moreover, we need to be optimists. So please, a round of applause for our two friends. Just a few final remarks. Clara and Paolo are here for free, just like everything that you see here. This all depends on volunteer work. So I'd just like to remind you that the meeting is a unique event. For 40 years, it's been possible thanks to volunteer work, donators, speakers, curators of exhibitions, artists. All of them give to the meeting something of themselves. So this is why for 40 years we've been able to offer for free exhibitions, meetings, and so on to every people coming to the meeting and to everyone following our meetings and our initiatives online. Please donate to the meeting. It doesn't matter how much you donate. It is your contribution to support this unique place so that it can continue to exist. This is why all over the Rimini meeting, all over the area of the Rimini meeting, you'll find some red spots with a red heart with the writing Dona Ora, Donate Now. There you'll find volunteers with a red t-shirt, Dona Ora, Donate Now.